Hey guys, welcome back to the food forest. So here's yet another video from the series of what have I learned in the 9 years that I've been making this food forest. And thank you again for all your comments, suggestions and questions. I really encourage you to just write down below if you have anything I need to elaborate on, or new themes or things you would like me to address in the coming videos. And some of you have been asking about spacing, the spacing of trees when you start a food forest. Super important and super interesting and really difficult. And I haven't done a great job of it, but I'd love to share what I've done and what you shouldn't do. And also how I'm trying to mitigate my mistakes. So first of all, I'd like to show you maybe the plan that I have of the food forest. So all the circles, of course, are trees in their maximum size. This is how big they grow to be. And as you can see, it was very important for me to have space between the trees for smaller things, for bushes, for berries, for ground layers and stuff like that. So I really wanted a sort of a light food forest, lots of light coming down into the ground layers once it was established. So that was taken into consideration when we designed this sort of basic design. And usually you say that a fruit tree grows to be, maybe the crown will be approximately 4 or 5 meters in width once it's fully grown. But we are standing right beside one of the apricot trees that's actually in the garden, and I would say it's probably 8 meters across. So this is not behaving the way I expected it to, meaning that yes, that's a good sort of rule of thumb, but very often life is not really behaving that way. So that's one thing. That's okay. I had space around this tree, and actually it has been almost shading out this tiny peach that is really not happy and not in any way able to compete with the apricot. But that's okay. I have other peaches other places in the garden, so that's okay. But from 8 meters to from 4 to 5 meters to 8 meters, that's a lot. I think I'm trying to make my way without toppling my my husband. That should be interesting. And here I actually would like to show you some places where the spacing has worked better, but the problem is that I'm not thinking that these hazelnuts and these sweet almonds are actually giving me enough crops as it is. So I'm thinking about taking these out and actually creating more light, so I will have more light in the ground layers, more light in the ground layers here, so that I can grow more things again in the ground layers. And I think you should also be prepared to make lots of adjustments. Things are not behaving the way you think they should, and that's just the way life is. And you should just find out if maybe, yes, it's beautiful and it's important that it's flowering early for the bees and all of that, but I get a handful of almonds and they are so hard to crack, and I honestly can't be bothered. So I'm thinking that this is probably one of the trees that I would take out, and I think you need to be prepared to do that again and again in a food forest. It's one long adjustment. Even, I mean, depending if you maybe you want to just only have trees and only have crops from the trees, it should be fine. But if you really want to have a complex food forest with lots of stuff growing in the ground layers, you need to be prepared to take out some trees and some bushes along the way, and I think that's interesting. That's the way it works. And you could also just allow everything to go into being a real forest, and then you would have less variety in the ground layers. And when I started the food forest 9 years ago, I actually went to see Martin Crawford's food forest that at that time was about 25 years old in the UK. And he did not have a lot of things, a lot of variety in his ground layers. It was mainly trees, and he would just, I mean, cut back a little bit so you could move around, but his main crops were coming from the tree layer and not so much the ground layer. It all depends what you want. But in the beginning, I mean, you have a tiny tree here and a tiny tree here, and you think, oh my God, I've got so much space and this will never feel like a forest. But very fast you are running out of space, and all the trees are coming together in over your head and really closing out a lot of the light. So I think I planted, for what I wanted, I planted too close together. So I think you need more space than you think you do. Or you must be prepared to prune and to maybe take out some things along the way. So that's, I mean, that's how far I've gotten with this this spacing. I see I made so many mistakes, and I'm trying to find ways to correct them. That's my take on that. More space than you think, even if they look like tiny beings. For the first 3-4 years, they will grow to be big trees and shade out a lot of light. So that's it. Thanks for watching. See you later.